Get ready for all the craziness of small business. It's exactly that craziness that makes it exciting and totally unbelievable. Small Business Radio is now on the air with your host, Barry Moltz.
Well, thanks for joining this week's radio show. Remember, this is the final word in small business. For those keeping track, this is now incredibly show number 570. This episode is provided by Nextiva, the all-in-one communications platform for your small business. It's also sponsored by LinkedIn, the place to generate leads, drive traffic, and build your brand awareness. For a free $100 credit to launch your campaign, go to www.linkedin.com/SBR. It's also supported by eFile4Biz, the easiest way to electronically process, print, mail, and file your 1099s and W-2s for your business. Go to www.efile4biz.com. We're also sponsored by vCita. All you need to run your business in one software. Try for a free trial at www.vcita.com. That's VCITA, and use Barry10 for an exclusive discount. We're also supported by Blue Summit Supplies. Get your W-2s and 1099 tax forms that your business is required to file at www.bluesummitsupplies.com/SBR. Use code SBR10 at checkout to save 10%. Well, the business of personal fitness certainly has changed over the past decade. It used to be if you want to exercise, you go to the gym. And then you could join a fancy health club to work out. And then there were exercise videos you could follow along at home. But now with companies like Peloton and NordicTrack, you can bring that personal trainer right into your home and you can work out with them and 100 of your closest friends connected through social media. Joining us is one of my favorite motivational trainers, Jennifer Jacobs of J Method Fitness. She is certified by the National Academy of Sports Medicine. Jennifer holds over a dozen certifications recognized internationally, spanning from strength and conditioning coach to performance enhancement specialist. She's been 3 years a very popular Peloton instructor, especially those of us who love cycling to the 80s. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
I am thrilled to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Jennifer, thanks for being here. So how did you go from growing up on a dairy farm to living in the south of France teaching fitness classes in person and online?
Well, there was quite a few steps in between that. I was very active on the dairy farm and actually very active on the roller skating rink. I believe if there was an Olympic sport for roller skating, I would have a gold medal. But in all sincerity, throughout high school, I played team sports. And then when I went to college, that changed because I was not a part of a team sport. So the freshman 15 definitely hit me. So sophomore year, I joined the 24-hour fitness. And within that, I gained access to 5 training sessions. And the manager of the personal trainers offered me a role as a personal trainer. So that is how I got into personal training. And 6 months later, I was running my own independent personal training business, which supported me through college.
Wow.
That's the story behind how I became a trainer.
I thought it's really interesting how you weren't really into team sports. And I think a lot of kids who are growing up, they really want to exercise. But if they're not into team sports, perhaps they stop doing anything.
Well, I see that a lot today with children who are not a part of team sports. That wasn't a problem for myself. I was a cheerleader. I played softball. But for kids these days who are not a part of team sports, after school, they go home, they go on their devices, they do their homework, but they lead a less active lifestyle than I did. I see it in my own children.
And so what do you tell your kids? Because I think a lot of us parents, we struggle with, well, what should we tell our kids when they're on their devices? It's like, well, just go out and play, just go out and do anything. But what do you tell your kids and other folks like that?
Well, I try to find things that my children are interested in. I think the number one question I'm asked is, when should kids start working out? Kids should start working out when they show interest in it. So if your children find when they see you doing something, they're going to emulate you. So my children do see me shadowboxing in my living room, they'll join me.
Right.
They want to be a part of it. So making it a part of your lifestyle is key to encourage them to do the same thing. That's my biggest tip of advice for children.
So I've been fascinated about how Peloton and NordicTrack really have gotten a foothold in the marketplace. Video training has changed a lot when we could watch, Jane Fonda, or we had Tony Little on the show, did their exercise videos. How is it different today? Because it seems like when you exercise, you can really almost bring the motivational trainer through the internet or through your device into your home.
Well, I don't know if it's changed. The platforms have changed. Now, instead of popping in the VHS of Jane Fonda or plugging in the 9 DVDs of P90X, we now have platforms, equipment that have the training upon it. So it makes it even more portable. You can't take your television with you wherever you go, but now it's on the ease of your phone even. So now you have no excuses. You're also able to reach and motivate more people, especially with the use of social media as a combination with video training.
So Jennifer, how do you think that social media has really enhanced, I guess, working at home or working by yourself, not at like a gym?
Well, it's a way to connect, and now there's unlimited ways to reach your audience, or for a person who's looking for someone to motivate them to reach them. They can now scroll through their Instagram feed and try to find someone who's inspiring. It also allows you to train in the comfort of your own home. It provides you with a wealth of knowledge if you find the right people to follow on social media, because they're educating you on how to better yourself. It's definitely changed the game, and it's really an exciting time with a combination of online training and social media.
I think you're right, because I think a lot of the folks, they never went to a gym because they felt like they had to be in shape before they went to the gym, but they never get in shape unless they went to the gym. Now they can do it in the comfort of their home.
Still is a thing. It's still a thing I hear, too. People want to train with me, but they think it might be too intense. So they're going to wait till they get into a little bit more better shape. But that is the number one thing I hear with fitness gyms is I'll go once I'm in shape so I feel good about myself. I actually have a story about this a woman I took on as a client, and she felt awful about herself, that she would not even leave her home. And I started training her online in her bedroom. And we attached resistance bands to the door, anchored them, and got her moving. And her goal, her purpose, was to be able to go scuba diving with her son.
Wow.
At the house. And she was able to do that. But I know what it feels like to not be able to want to leave your home. I've seen it with my own eyes, and it does exist, and it's very sad, and I'm fortunate to be able to be in people's homes with my own business and with online training. It really is a luxury for people to have that in their home now, because now the excuses are eliminated. It still isn't easy. It's still the hardest thing to do to get started.
One of the things that I love about one of my favorite quotes of yours, you say, each of my clients' goals becomes my goals, each struggle my struggle, each challenge my challenge. I think more than so many of the other trainers, you're really able to connect with people as personal motivators. What is really the genesis of that? What drives you to really help people so much and so personally?
Well, I think when my biggest motivation is motivating others, seeing other people start to make ways towards their goals, whatever they put out in front of themselves. And usually what is holding them back are their perceived limitations. I've been in the same seat where someone's told me you couldn't, you shouldn't, you wouldn't, or I thought it myself, and I was able to push past that. So it brings me a lot of personal pleasure and joy to see myself help someone unleash their best. That is the biggest motivator for me. I've never obtained that much satisfaction from anything else, helping other people see themselves.
So in your experience, what do you think holds people back? Is it just fear that they're afraid to take that first step? And then what do you recommend that first step being if people are stuck where they are?
It could be fear, but it could also be that the fitness industry has become a very daunting place in the sense that there's so many options, so many diets, so many methods that it becomes a bit confusing for the user. So the person who's wanting to make that first step, first they have to get over the fear of, oh, I'm going to feel awkward, I'm going to feel bad. Anytime you do anything new, you start boxing, you start jump roping, any new thing you do, you're going to be a little awkward at it. But once you allow your body to adapt, you become better. Once you get past that, it's where do I start? There's so much out there. I think that is the problem for most people is where do I start? Who do I start with? So my purpose is to really simplify things. Provide people with the knowledge so that it's easier to start. Not saying it is easy. Things are simple when it comes to fitness. It becomes overcomplicated with the industry and how we start selling things and buy this, do that, this HIIT workout is the one that's going to burn the most fat. Not everybody can hit it though, meaning not everybody is at that level. So you have to start where you like most about my method. Yes. Right. And that's the thing I like most about my method is that it reaches people at their level that they're at right then.
Yeah, I love the Buddhist expression is you got to really start where you are. And I think a lot of folks, if they could just do that rather than trying to start where, people who are in incredible shape they see on social media, that's not you. And so I think that folks like you really help folks connect and they feel they can trust you. And so they take that first step. That's why I think that being a motivational personal trainer really has changed so many different people's lives.
Yeah, I think personal trainers have always been motivators. When you work one-on-one, we are motivators. But now, because of online video training and social media, we are motivators on a much larger scale. We all have different styles. I think when we see those really intense workouts, they're aspirational. It's like, wow, I wish I could be at that level one day. But the people who are just starting, they really need to feel that it's one step at a time. Just start by walking. But no one's really talking about the benefits of walking. You hear more about the most intense workout. That's the one that's the best. So if you just simplify things, start where you're at, people will progress. And that's how fitness works. Because if you keep doing the same thing, you're not going to progress. You're going to hit a plateau.
Or if you start out too intensely, you burn yourself out, right? That's why a lot of people, they get started, they join a health club in January and they quit in February.
Yeah, they go 5 times a week.
Right.
For the first 3 weeks, they've overtrained. They haven't seen any weight loss. Stress is a funny thing. Stress in your personal life, also when you stress your body in the gym, it's the same kind of stress. Your body releases the same type of hormones. And that tends to hold on to a bit of water weight when your body's stressed to that degree. And there's a huge advantage of taking those days off, resting, allowing your body to recover, to see the full benefit of the effort you are putting in when you do work out, when you do break down the muscle. So it's the method that you apply to get the results that you want. But you always have to start with, first, what's your goal? I think we think everyone wants to lose weight, but that's not the case. People want to be able to move without pain. People want to get stronger. So first you have to know your goal. From there, you have to ask the person, well, if you lost 20 pounds, what would change for you? What would be better? Then find out their reason, their purpose. So if it's, I want to be able to get on the floor with my toddler and play with them and not feel out of breath or uncomfortable. All right, now you have the purpose. So when you start towards making your way towards that goal, and it becomes difficult because it will, you're not going to want to do it every day. You remind yourself of that purpose, and that keeps you moving forward towards your goal. That's motivation.
I love
if you
that.
can have people in your corner who are cheering you on, that's even better.
Right.
And social media has allowed people like myself to now have a megaphone.
Right.
To have a louder voice.
Right. I love that. I love you focus on the whole thing that you want to move without pain, because I'm never quite sure, Jennifer, where this whole expression of no pain, no gain actually started.
Well, that started in the bodybuilding days, where you push past that discomfort and you hit that max rep when you're, have the chest press, the barbell loaded to the extreme to build mass. That's where it came from. Now we need to move away from it, because I'm seeing a lot of clients, a lot of people I speak with, they have desk jobs. They're experiencing a lot of neck and shoulder pain. They're not going to go home and do 20 reps of 3 sets of push-ups. That's going to just tighten their chest muscles and shoulders even more. They need to incorporate some mobility drills or corrective movements. I'm a movement specialist, to make their bodies feel and move better, more freely, optimize human movement. From there, you'll be able to move more. So there, you'll be able to burn more calories. So if your goal is weight loss, that will happen. But if someone doesn't feel right, if someone has pain, how are they going to even get started in moving?
Exactly.
You have to correct that. You have to correct it.
Exactly. I was in Omaha this past month, and I stayed at this hotel chain called Even. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it. They're owned by the Holiday Inn. And every single room, there's like workout equipment, because it's supposed to be a healthy hotel. And I know that's something that you're focusing on, is giving people the tools so they can really work out everywhere. Talk about that.
So I recently launched a product that I created called the Travel Size Gym, which is a portable gym in a bag offering recovery, cardio, and strength training via resistance bands. And it's not only the equipment that people need and that I personally use myself, but I'm actually creating a community on social media, on Instagram, to teach them how to use it. Because I feel like I've been in this position where I've bought every piece of equipment
we all have.
Done. And some of it just sits in the corner.
Right.
I remember I bought this balancing ball, and it didn't come with any directions. It came with maybe 5 moves you could do on it. After you do the 5 moves 5 different times, you're kind of bored. And then it sits in the corner and collects dust. So my intention of the product is for it to be used, for people to put it in the briefcase, take it to the gym with them, so they always have the tools they need, or take it on a trip with them. Just seeing something, like you mentioned, the hotel with the gym equipment, it encourages you to maybe use it. So that's the intention behind that. I also find that people, it doesn't take a lot to get a great workout. It doesn't take the fanciest of equipment. It doesn't take you having a gym membership, because I have a gym membership to a local boxing gym, but it's not that local. I'm in New York City. It's in Brooklyn. It takes me about an hour to get to the boxing gym, then an hour training session with the coach, and then another hour to get back. I've just spent 3 hours when I could have worked out in my living room. Again, I wouldn't have had the social interaction, but I could have put myself through an amazing workout with myself, with an online video, So that gives me the ability to do both, especially when people don't have a lot of time. And if you don't have a lot of time, you want something that travels with you, but then you want to know how to use it. That's the thing. So it was a product that allows me to connect on a deeper level with a group of people to really show them how to train anytime, anywhere, and unleash their best self.
So Jennifer, what advice? A lot of folks that listen to this show are small business folks and they're personal trainers. You've had a lot of success as a personal motivational trainer. What advice would you give those folks that are just starting out or perhaps hit a lot of roadblocks in following their dream?
I think the first bit of advice is to have a purpose. I always say to my own clients that you must train with a purpose. Whatever movement it is, there needs to be a purpose to this movement. Same goes if you want to be a trainer. Have a purpose. From there, find your voice, find the platform so you can speak. And now with all of the advancements in video training and social media, you have the ability to be as loud as you want.
Well, Jennifer,
but I think when you stay,
no, go ahead.
When you really truly do have a purpose, people see that. People see that you're authentic. I really don't like that word too much because it's always used, but honestly, when you are sincere about the reason why you're doing something, it shows.
Well, I think that definitely shows to us, the folks that follow you online. Jennifer, where can people follow you, get in touch with you, learn about getting involved in J Method?
You can learn about the J Method on my website, thejmethod.com. You can follow me on social media on Instagram @JMethod, Facebook, Jennifer Jacobs. I'm also on Twitter and recently added to TikTok.
Excellent. Jennifer, thanks for being on the show. This is AM 820 WCPT in Chicago. We'll be right back. Time and place is everything, especially when it comes to marketing. But in today's age of 1 million messages per minute and not enough hours in a day, how do you really catch people's attention? Fortunately, there's a simple way. LinkedIn can help you speak to the right professionals at the right time. With over 62 million decision makers on LinkedIn, you're able to connect with the right business leaders who are relevant to your company. And with LinkedIn ads, you can make sure your messages are getting through to these relevant people. Even small businesses are making the most of LinkedIn ads. They're using LinkedIn to get their voices heard and their messages to resonate with the audience. It's not just about awareness either. LinkedIn ads are driving traffic and engagement, whether that's visits to a landing page, registrations to an event, or downloads of that thought leadership piece. Because with precise targeting, small businesses can speak to the people that matter the most. At the end of the day, LinkedIn ads are helping smaller businesses get big results. Try it for yourself. LinkedIn is offering a free $100 LinkedIn ad credit to launch your first campaign. Simply go to www.linkedin.com/SBR. That's www.linkedin.com/SBR to claim your free $100 ad credit. Terms and conditions apply.
You've already upgraded your cell phone to a smart device, which lets you use the internet to be more productive on the go. But what about your desk phone? Nextiva is a smart business phone system in the cloud. With a simple setup through an internet connection, you can soon have access to your office communications wherever you are. Stay seamlessly connected with clients and stay more mobile than ever before with just one low monthly cost. Give your business more than just a basic desk phone. Visit Nextiva.com or call 800-799-0600 to learn more today. Nextiva. Simplifying your business communications.
Tax season is here, and now it's time to file. Blue Summit Supplies has what you need to make filing your 1099s and W-2s quicker, cheaper, and easier than ever. Reduce the stress of tax season by stocking up on IRS-compliant tax forms for your 1099s, W-2s, plus learn how you can save time and money by filing your 2019 taxes online using their simple, safe, and secure electronic filing service. Enjoy free expedited shipping on every order within the continental U.S. Learn more at www.bluesummitsupplies.com/SBR and use the code SBR10 at checkout to save 10% on your order for any paper tax forms and envelopes.
Stick around to get your small business unstuck. More of Small Business Radio with Barry Moles, now on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
When I talk to a lot of small business owners, they have that dream of selling their company. But what sacrifices need to be made to your principles and get that done and reap that huge financial windfall? Here to talk about his experience is Sonny Vanderbeck, who's the entrepreneur, CEO, investor, military leader, and author with over a decade of experience in leading companies to success. He's got a new book out called Selling Without Selling Out, How to Sell Your Business Without Selling Your Soul. Sonny, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So what do you mean about selling without selling out? Because as my lawyer always told me, once they pay you for your business, it's their toy train. They can do whatever they want.
Well, that's the truth of it. They can do whatever they want. But all those moments leading up to that closing, you still have a choice of who you work with and what your expectations are, what your priorities are, and what you're willing to stand for. So you get to choose who you sell it to and what you expect out of that relationship. But yeah, once the transaction closes, they're in charge, so be careful who you pick.
You know, it's interesting because many years ago when I started my third company, my partner and I got together and we talked about kind of the red lines that we wouldn't go over given how we would run our company, what choices we would make and things like that. And I found, and I document this in my first book, how keeping those commitments was really hard because I found that I would do a lot of things just for success.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe hardest in this, but that's a big point of what we're talking about here is, you know, we all have values, stated or unstated values, things that we hold as most important or hold deeply. And part of the idea behind the book is, hey, let's hear some stories from CEOs who have been through this selling process, and in some cases had their eye focused entirely on financial success and didn't think about anything else. And there's some aftermath of that. There's some consequences to that. And so we talk a little bit about, you know, what does that mean? What happened? How do you feel now? What do you wish you had done differently? And the punchline there is value is not a euphemism for money. Value is a euphemism for value. There's stuff you care about besides money, most of us. And let me give you an example. If an acquirer came to you and they were going to buy your company and everything was great, but right the last day before close, they said, hey, look, we've changed our mind on a couple of things, and right after close, we're going to fire everybody. But we know that kind of hurts, but how much more do we have to pay you for it to be okay with firing everybody? Now, most of the CEOs I talk to look at me like I'm nuts when I say that. They're like, I would never do that. Or, well, they would have to pay me enough that I could give everybody in the company a bunch of money or what have you. And so that moment right there is a good illustration of, as it turns out, most of us, while we get a bad rap sometimes in the media about, you know, CEOs and what they care about, most of us do actually care about more than money. And so the idea is, hey, let's figure out what we care about and hold true to those values when it's hardest, because my experience is it's hardest during a sale.
So you found when you talk to folks that they would not make that decision, because a lot of other people would say, well, listen, it's my company, I created it, why do I owe employment to anybody if I'm selling it?
So you don't owe them employment. And I think here's an important distinction. I'm really careful about, I'm not going to try to put my morals on you, nor should you put yours on me. But we all have things that are important to us. And so figure out what those are and make sure that those priorities besides money matter to you. So there are some people who don't care at all, and there are some people who care a lot.
Right.
And so here's another example. My customers, right? So you may not have a bunch of empathy for your employees, but what about your customers? If an acquirer said, look, all I'm really going to do with your customers is I'm just going to jack up the price and turn down the service as much as possible. And they're not going to like it, but they can't do anything anyway. Would that be exciting to you, or would you feel bad about it? Well, if you're going to feel bad about something like that, maybe you should ask those questions going into it. So again, this is not about, hey, these choices are good and these choices are bad. The whole idea is this whole process about selling the company, and it's true for taking an investor too, the whole process is built around money. And my premise is this. Most of us have other things we care about besides money. Money's important too, but what happens to my customers? What happens to my employee? What happens to the name? Who knows? Whatever it is that's important to you, the deal is your lawyers don't care about that stuff. Your accountants don't care about that stuff. And if you have an advisor, a banker, or a broker, they don't care about that stuff. They go on to their next thing and move on to their next deal, and they don't really care about what happens the day after close. And what I'm telling you is the story from me, my own experience, and all the CEOs I interviewed, how they felt the day after close was more important than how they felt on closing day.
You know, it's interesting to me because I think picking an extreme example like selling your company, because a lot of things come up during that process. And it's fascinating to me that you mentioned the idea of how do you feel the day after, because that's as a business broker where I do a couple of transactions a year, before I take on a transaction, I always say, well, what are you going to do the day after you sell your business and how are you going to feel? And that's an important part that actually helps me guide their transaction based on what they're talking about.
Well, you're a rare one then. Most don't care at all what happens the day after close, and I think it's really important.
Well, Sonny, the reason I asked that question is I've had too many small business owners back out a week or two before it closed because they didn't have the answer to that question. So it's not really I'm being so magnanimous. I'm kind of being selfish because I don't want to do all the work and then it not close.
Hey, there's a thing called enlightened self-interest,
right?
Which is you're doing a good thing for you and a good thing for your client, and everybody's winning. That's a great outcome.
Absolutely. So you also said that this really applies to when people are taking on investors. How does that work, and what kind of questions should you ask them?
So it does work pretty much the same way as selling the company, because you get to ask questions like, why is this interesting to you? What are you going to do with it? What does success look like together? You'd be surprised at these simple, straightforward questions of what does a good partnership look like? What do you prioritize in an investment? How will I know if you've been successful? What kind of relationship do you want to have? Questions like that really kind of everybody thinks they know, what that investor might want or not want. You'd be surprised at the answers you can get. I even suggest that CEOs ask questions like, hey, as you think about your other portfolio companies and investments, what do you see in those companies that makes you crazy? And what do you see in those companies that get you really excited? Like, what is it that we do together that would make you happy? And what are you going to be grumpy about in the car on the way home? And actually asking those questions, you can get a lot of insight because just like every person is different, every investor is different. And here's the point there, too. I know lots of people that can say, I got a great valuation and I don't like my investor for whatever reason. But the people that say, hey, my valuation is okay, it wasn't very exciting, but I love this investor, none of those people are complaining. The ones that complain are the ones that got an extraordinary valuation and don't get along with their investor at all. And so the implied advice here is, hey, look, who these people are actually matters more than the number on the page. To a point, obviously, but the non-financial dimensions of a transaction will have more effect over the long term, I think, than the financial dimensions of a transaction.
And so I think that's the key. They actually do have more of an effect over the long term than transaction. I always ask people, what are your goals besides making money? What are your goals and? Because it's easy to say that it's money, but people also have some heartfelt goals that, unless you ask them, they sometimes could be just as important or more important than the financial aspect of it.
That's right. So one of the things I did, I put some worksheets together on my website at sonnyvanderbeck.com. They're designed to help somebody walk through this basic set of questions about who is it that you care about and what is it that you care about and what is it that you want for them in a transaction, in whether it's an investment or a sale, so you can actually think through each of these non-financial things that are going to matter in the long term and write them down. That's a big piece of advice I have on this. For CEOs and for owners, it's one thing to think you know it. It's another thing to be able to talk about it out loud. But that something magic happens when you put this pen to paper and then reflect on it and think about it. In my own experiences, you write it down, you look at it, and you go, yeah, that's it. And you wake up the next day and you go, no, that's actually not quite it. And you tune and massage, and eventually it takes a little while. But when you've got it all the way written down, you get a lot of clarity. And what happens then, you will have a moment, and I'll give you an example of a moment I had. You will have a moment where everybody in the room is either implicitly or explicitly pushing you in a direction. And more often than not, that's a direction that makes their life easier and the transaction more likely to close and maybe more money, but doesn't necessarily satisfy the things you care about. Because remember, these people don't care about the day after close. They only care about getting the closing day. And so the stuff that's important to you that's not money, it's your job to take care of that. No one else will do it for you. And so when you write it down and you have that moment, then it's going to be easier to stand your ground and say, no, these are important to me. I remember we were selling my first company for the second time. Story for another day, cover it well in the book. And we were on the phone with the investment bankers, and there was one acquirer that I knew about and had chatted with a little bit. And the investment banker basically refused to put them on the list to engage with and talk to. And I knew they actually had a good shot at being a really good cultural fit for the company. And long story short, we got into a battle of wills on that phone call where I legitimately just had to put my foot down and say, I hear you. I know you don't want to put them on the list. I know it's going to be harder for you because they're not an experienced acquirer. I don't care. Put them on the list. Now, of course, I wouldn't tell the story if the punchline wasn't that's who ended up being the best acquirer
Exactly.
for my company.
Exactly.
The same people that they didn't want because it was going to be more work.
Right.
Because companies that acquire a lot are easier to transact with because they've done it before, but they're not necessarily the best fit.
And remember, that's really what a broker, lawyer, accountant really cares about is the transaction getting done. Right? It doesn't matter what happens afterwards. So you also talk about in the book this whole idea of conscious capitalism. You hear that word thrown out a lot. What's your definition of that, Sonny?
Yeah, so here's the idea around conscious capitalism. And it's fun because my experience is a lot of the world, we call them unconscious conscious capitalists. And by that I mean they don't use the word. The idea behind conscious capitalism is this. Profit is not a thing to achieve. Profit is a reflection of, am I creating value for my customers, for my employees, for my suppliers, for my community? Like the story of my customers love me, my employees love me, the community loves me, my suppliers love me, and I'm making a great profit. Like that story, you hear that story a lot. The belief is that the companies that are doing the bare minimum for their employees, only what they can get away with, or only, the bare minimum. And anything they can get away with customers, they'll do it. That kind of company, it might be successful in the short term, but in the long term, everybody remembers. So here's an example. In this environment we're in now with this low unemployment, if you put time and effort and energy into being a great place to work or a best place to work, and your employees feel like they trust the company cares about them, all those kinds of things, when their phone rings and somebody's trying to hire them away, what do they say? They say, no, company's been good to me. We trust each other. We work for each other through good times and bad. I'm going to stay here. But if you've been that employer that only does the bare minimum and that phone ring, guess what happens? Your people leave. And so the basic idea is make happy customers and happy employees and happy suppliers and so forth. And if you do that, the profit thing works out quite well. So profit is a byproduct of a bunch of other stuff, not a thing to go get in and of itself.
Last question I want to ask you, built on that, Sonny, is that can you use or can you be a conscious capitalist when you really aren't yet making a good profit? Is it somebody that goes back afterwards and says, okay, now that I have a good business, now that I'm making money, I can go back and fill in the holes and be a conscious capitalist?
I would say it's always a balance. You've got kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like if you don't have cash flow, you need to work on that.
Right. You can't be a conscious capitalist if you can't stay in business.
Well, you're just not a capitalist at all.
Right.
You're a nonprofit that needs to raise some more money. And so I think, but here's an important difference, right? This is not that corporate social responsibility stuff that's basically, I look at that stuff and I think it's a bunch of PR moves. It's not intrinsic to the strategy of the business. And so one of the ways to know if you're on target with this stuff is I'm doing these things because they are intrinsic to the strategy that I have for the business and they make it a better business. So it's not more expense and then I feel better about it. It's expense that it's an investment. And I'm going to give you an example from one of our portfolio companies. We had made an investment in partnership with the CEO. He bought out his other investors with us. And one of the first things we did when we made that investment is we funded rolling out an electronic time card. Now that seems like, whatever, so you're going to keep better track of people. Here's what it really meant for the employees. Instead of driving all the way to the headquarters to clock in on a physical piece of paper and then driving to the job site, they just went straight to the job site and checked in on their phone. So who won? Was that an expense to make the employees' lives better, or was it an investment? Here's what really happened. our employees were happier, our customers were happier, and the company made more money. Like, everybody won. And so my caution is conscious capitalism is not this feel-goody stuff. Conscious capitalism is stuff where I can take an action that's going to create value for everybody over the long term. And I'll give you one other short example. Training. Is training a nice-to-have to develop my employees, or does it cost me money now, but actually make a lot more later on? So the employee wins, right? They get to develop their job skills, and I win because I've got somebody that is well-trained at the company. We another business, we sent our team to school to learn specialized skills that made them worth more money. And if they went through the school and passed it, we gave them a raise. You think, oh, what are you doing to yourself? Like, you're causing your wages to go up. But as it turns out, they were so much more productive if they had this training that they won and we won. And so the caution is, like, do things that matter a lot to everybody. Don't just try to put lipstick on it and do feel-goody kind of stuff. And I just don't think making... Go ahead, please.
No, I really like that definition of conscious capitalism. Sonny, I'm sorry, we're out of time. Where can people get a copy of the book, Selling Without Selling Out, How to Sell Your Business Without Selling Your Soul, and get in touch with you?
Yeah, come to my website, sonnyvanderbeck.com. We've got a bunch of tools there and links to the book, and hopefully they'll be helpful. And remember, the most important day is not the day it closes, it's the day after close. I
totally agree with that. This is AM 820, WCPT in Chicago. We'll be right back. There's an important step when it comes to tax season that every small business owner dreads. It's organizing and sending those W-2s to your employees and 1099s to all your independent contractors if you paid them over $600 in the past year. But now there's an easier way to file and deliver those 1099s and W-2s by January 31st, 2020. Introducing eFileForBiz.com, an all-inclusive print, mail, and e-file service for every small business owner. This tool allows you to easily import data from Excel, QuickBooks, and Xero. It's faster to process than ordering paper forms from the IRS and having to fill them out and mail them. eFile for Biz requires no software to be installed. Let eFileForBiz.com process, print, and mail 1099s and W-2s for you. Try it free at www.efileforbiz.com. Tune in regularly to my show, then you know that I talk to many different businesses across the country, different types of people, different backgrounds, all kinds of industries. But there's one thing that unites all of us, searching that thing known as work-life balance. I get pretty bummed out when a listener tells me that they haven't been home for dinner in a whole month. That's why I'm so excited to introduce you to vCita. vCita does a lot for one little application. It can help you achieve that lifestyle. vCita is that personal assistant on steroids you never had. It syncs your client information, appointments, and payments. vCita sends automated appointments and payment reminders, making sure your clients keep appointments and get paid on time. vCita understands today's consumer, making it easy for them to book an appointment and pay from literally anywhere. A website, Facebook, emails, even your Google My Business profile. It's also compatible with Google, Gmail, iCal, social media, and Square Payments. So get your free 14-day trial during which you can explore every single feature. Go to vCita.com. That's VCITA.com. No credit card required, no strings attached, no brainer. And when you're ready to buy, use promo code Barry10 to get 10% off.
Stick around to get your small business unstuck. More of Small Business Radio with Barry Moltz, now on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Well, as a company grows, one of the biggest things it lacks is process and infrastructure to grow that business. My next guest came in specifically to add structure to an entrepreneurial business so it can fulfill its potential. Matt Finsilver is the COO of Blue Summit Supplies, an e-commerce solution to overpriced big box office supply stores and the largest third-party seller of office supplies on Amazon. He established himself in the world of public accounting before joining Blue Summit Supplies in 2018. As the first employee of Blue Summit Supplies, Matt helped the company grow revenue by just under 1,000% on the Amazon platform. Matt, welcome to the show, and welcome to, you're actually in studio here with me.
I am. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I got to get this straight. So you left a secure core position at a top accounting firm to work with an idealistic entrepreneur selling envelopes online. Did you tell your mom about this? You were going to do this crazy idea?
I did. Actually, I'm very fortunate that my family was very supportive of me. The one thing I didn't tell them, though, is when I met Owen for the first time was over video chat, and he was still in his bathrobe. It was about 6 in the morning before I went to work. So I didn't tell them that when I first met him, but now that's a pretty funny part of the story.
So what was going on in your mind that you would leave this very secure and traditional job to go plunge into the world of being part of a small business?
Sure. I kind of always known that I wanted to do something more entrepreneurial. I have some entrepreneurs in my family and knew I kind of wanted to go that route. And throughout school, I tried to figure out what I should study to try to put me on that path. And I kind of decided to go to business school, study accounting, because I figured it would be the most difficult thing to learn after I left college. And kind of, got out of college, went to the big, like you mentioned, public accounting firm and that kind of thing. But was kind of feeling a little bit stuck and was doing some of my own side projects and ended up kind of meeting Owen by happenstance. And, here was a guy who had left his own job and had a business that was growing. And I saw it as an opportunity to kind of hit the ground running in my own entrepreneurial ventures. And didn't really know what was going to happen. But, 2 years later, here I am. So things have gone well so far.
So you said that when you were growing up, you always said you knew you want to be part of an entrepreneurial venture. A lot of folks that are exposed to that when they're young either attracts them or repulses them. So what attracted you to this kind of crazy lifestyle?
I think it's kind of the freedom that can come along with having your own business. Obviously, as I've experienced firsthand, and I'm sure listeners of your show know, running your own business can be very time consuming. So a lot of people think it's kind of the opposite of freedom. But I kind of view it as I certainly work a lot more than I did, but I kind of choose to because it's something I enjoy working on. And, I'm not just working to make sure my boss isn't going to fire me. It's more to build a company and be part of something bigger than myself.
So a lot of small business owners, they face this problem where they grow the company to a certain point. They now have a real business. They have some success. They're making some money. But then they have grown it without any kind of infrastructure, systems, or processes. Where do you start in implementing something like that? Because it's not necessarily an innate part of that company.
Sure. And as you met Owen and he was on the show, and maybe your listeners heard him speak, he's definitely very good. He's very high energy, very good at kind of figuring things out. But where we've kind of learned our skill sets really mesh together well is he's really good at kind of getting things going, and I'm kind of good at systematizing them. So when I first started working with Owen, the first place I started was in the accounting system, because that's kind of what I knew best. And I remember one of the first questions I asked him is, what is your accounts payable process? Which I think is a pretty basic question.
And he said, what's accounts payable? Probably.
Yeah, he basically said, well, when my bills are due, I paid them. Which is fine for a business. Even at the size it was when I joined, it probably would have been okay. One person kind of running the whole show. But as we grew, no company that I had been in before, that was not their system, to say the least. So we kind of started there, and it was really exciting to me, for me to be able to take the knowledge I had learned from the corporate world and working as an auditor in public accounting and seeing all different sorts of businesses and being able to apply that to a business like Owens that was growing so quickly. So we kind of started in the accounting process. And eventually brought all of our accounting processes in-house. Now we have, a whole accounting team that used to be outsourced to our CPA firm, which obviously isn't as cost-effective when you get to be a certain size. So we started there. Then we moved into inventory management and, Amazon advertising and that kind of stuff. And now I think we've got a pretty good handle on a lot of the kind of day-to-day operations that we're doing.
Let's talk about the financial side of the business, because I find that what holds a lot of people back is that they don't look at their financial statements on a monthly basis, and they don't know how to interpret their financial statements. As I travel around the country, I realize about 50% of the people understand what's on a profit and loss statement, about 25% understand what's on a balance sheet, and if I ask them what a cash flow statement is, forget about that, right? So why is it important to look at your financial statements every month? And if you don't understand them, where can you get some help as a small business owner?
Well, we've been very fortunate. Owen connected with a local CPA firm in Huntsville, where the business is headquartered, who's kind of served as a mentor to him and to pretty much everyone in the company to kind of go through the basic financial statements. So I would say if you're looking for more information, obviously there's tons of stuff online, but just being able to sit down and talk to someone and ask them questions that apply to your business, because we're obviously in this world of selling on Amazon, which is, to us, it's normal. We compete against other Amazon sellers and that kind of thing. But to the average business person, they're like, okay, I thought Amazon was selling me that item, but really it's a small business like us. So what I think we've done a really good job of doing is kind of figuring out the data that we have available to ourselves and then making our own sort of financial reports. So we have our big three financial statements, like a profit and loss statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement.
And that's where you start, right? It's not necessarily all the key metrics. So that's really where you start. So you make sure that you review those every single month.
Yeah. What we also do is because, we move inventory around the world, so sometimes the financials can take a little while to close because we don't have an invoice from this vendor or that vendor or whatever. So we've basically created a couple of other types of reports that we're able to kind of run at a moment's notice that are a little bit, they may not be 100% accurate from a financial statement that the bank would get, but it's at least enough information for us to say, like, basically, okay, is this item making money or losing money?
Right.
And, how should we react accordingly? Because at the end of the day, a financial statement, you want to be able to take action from it, not just look at it and never think about it, but to be able to have some actions out of it.
So what other key metrics do you think that small businesses should look at, especially if they're managing inventory? Because managing inventory adds a whole nother level of complexity, right? Obviously, because it can just eat you alive when it comes to cash flow.
Sure. So a big thing that we look at is returns on a SKU basis. A lot of people see returns as a relatively small percentage of the revenue, which hopefully it is. But for us, we're selling different items that can have, different problems. And when we're able to look at the returns on a SKU by SKU basis, we can try to determine why that's happening and hopefully take some corrective action. So we're selling on Amazon. I'm sure you've shopped on Amazon, and a lot of your listeners have shopped on Amazon.
Just a few times.
Yeah. A few times.
By the way, 350 separate orders last month on Amazon. I'm ashamed.
Wow, you're a Prime member.
I'm a Prime. I'm the primest.
Yeah. So like for our business, we see something that has an unusually high return rate, and we can look at the listing and say, oh, maybe our photos are bad. Maybe there's something in the listing that doesn't really tell the customer exactly what the product is and if it'll suit their needs. So with that data, we can hopefully make adjustments that'll reduce that return rate, because obviously no one wants returns, or no business owner wants returns. So like those kind of things that are going to be more particular to your business can be kind of found out through this financial data.
So how do you figure out, since you move inventory all around the world, how much inventory you actually should have? Because it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right, Matt? Because if you have too much inventory, you invested too much of the cash of the business in the inventory. If you don't have enough inventory, then your fill rate won't be high enough that people won't want to buy your product because no one wants to wait anymore.
Sure. Yeah, and for us, it can even go a step further, because if we don't have something in stock and fulfillable, Amazon will just it won't be. It'll not exist as far as Amazon's concerned. So that's what we spend a lot of our time doing, is kind of trying to balance the two sides of that, where we want to have enough stock to sell, but not too much to get eaten alive by storage fees. So that's actually a really big problem for us, and
it's a problem for anybody that really has inventory, right? It's a key issue.
Yeah, and especially with Amazon, because a lot of bigger companies, they may get, a purchase order from company A, B, and C, 3 times a month, or once every quarter, or whatever it is. But we're selling on Amazon directly to consumers, so we're trying to forecast sales on almost a daily basis, which is very difficult when you take into account that it's a very competitive marketplace. So say we're selling for $10 and our competitor is at 11, and they drop to 9. What does that do to our sales? And there's just so many different things going on that can affect it. But really what we try to do is we do the best that we can to try to forecast sales, and then just, work backwards from there and say, okay, if we think we're going to sell, 100 units next month, what do we need to order now? What do we need to ship now? Where's my inventory level at? And there's quite a few tools available for Amazon sellers. And I think what we've done a really good job of doing is taking the things that are available to us and kind of tailoring them to our own needs. And basically we just have all these different Excel models that try to forecast, what we need to land when, to make sure that we kind of meet customer demand while also not being too heavy on inventory.
So it's also part of the secret sauce that Blue Summer Supplies has, right?
Yeah.
Without disclosing any of those secrets.
Yeah, exactly.
So you come in, you're very much of a structured person, I assume, given your background. And, Owen, who is your boss, he's your typical entrepreneur. He may be a little bit more, not structured, right? I wouldn't say erratic, but more unstructured. How do you mesh those two things to really move forward? Because I believe every company needs that kind of yin and yang to actually be successful.
Sure. Given that Owen is like that, I think he's also very open-minded to the fact that he knows that he's like that. And me, I think when we first started to work together, it was a little bit more difficult, because he may not have been as open-minded to why things may need to be backed up by data, whereas I may not have been open-minded enough to say, like, not everything needs data. So I think we've both made tremendous improvements in just working kind of on our own personalities and our own biases, to the point where sometimes he has a crazy idea, and my initial reaction might be to shoot it down, whereas now I think, okay, let's see what kind of merit this idea may have. Whereas he's like, this is a crazy idea. Is it possible? So I think just keeping a very open line of communication, and as we've kind of learned to work together, we've found a really good balance where he has the crazy ideas, and I'm open-minded to them, and he's open-minded to why it may or may not work. And we've kind of made it mesh really well.
So how do decisions actually get made when you have an entrepreneurial founder and a COO? Because I think a lot of small business owners would like to bring in a COO into their company, but they're not quite sure, A, they can work with that person, or it will match the culture that they're trying to create for the company.
Yeah. I mean, decisions getting made are really kind of dependent on kind of what sector of the business they're in. I think Owen has really realized his strengths and weaknesses. For instance, managing inventory is not one of the things that he's very good at, which I hope he doesn't mind. I think he would admit that. So he kind of stays out of it. Whereas I, am not as focused on, where should we take the company next? That's kind of his job. So we're kind of, we're working together, but we're also working on very different things. Whereas he kind of stays out of, what's getting issued on PO A, B, and C, and I'm kind of staying out of, what products are going to launch next and that kind of thing.
I think it's a very important point, because to be successful as an entrepreneur, you got to bring in other folks like you to help divide and conquer. And the entrepreneur can't be hub and spoke, where the entrepreneur's at the center, everyone works for them. You've got to give other people responsibility, and if you don't, you're really never going to grow your company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I think we've done a really good job of doing is building a team with people of very different backgrounds. And it's kind of interesting because, everyone on our team comes from very different walks of life, but we all have one thing in common, that we've never sold office supplies on the internet before. So I think we've done a really good job of kind of taking our experiences from whatever our pasts are and trying to apply it to this to try to make the best decisions we can moving forward.
I love you said that. We have one thing in common. We never, ever sold office supplies on the internet. Is exactly what you guys did.
Yeah.
So that's just fascinating. Before I let you go, I want to make sure that I bring up one thing, because this is a very busy time of year for Blue Summit Supplies, is that by January 31st, everyone has to file, all business owners have to file W-2s and 1099 forms with the IRS so they can report what they paid to their employees and to their vendors. And one thing you guys do is you sell these forms on Amazon, and I have to tell you, it's the only form that I can't download for free. I actually have to buy it still.
Yeah, it's a really interesting kind of business that we stumbled upon. Working with some of the biggest manufacturers in the country and partnering with them to try to provide the products that the business owners need to be able to get their taxes out on time at prices that make sense. We're really excited to offer all sorts of different tax supplies to business owners of all kinds. We have 1099s, W-2s, 1099 interest forms, W-3s, pretty much anything that a business owner would need. It's all available on Amazon and our website. And special offer for listeners of this radio show: if you go to www.bluesummitsupplies.com/SBR, you can put the code SBR10 at checkout, and you'll save 10%. So, Matt, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for having me.
And I want to thank everyone for joining this week's radio show. I got to thank our sponsors, Nextiva, the all-in-one communications platform for your small business. I want to thank LinkedIn, the place to generate leads, drive traffic, and build your brand awareness. For a free $100 credit to launch your campaign, go to www.linkedin.com/SBR. I want to thank vCita, all you need to run your business in one software. Try for free at www.vcita.com. That's VCITA.com, and use Barry10 for an exclusive discount. And of course, I want to thank Blue Summit Supplies. Get your W-2s and 1099 tax forms that your business is required to file. And that's coming up soon. It's January 31st at www.bluesummitsupplies.com/SBR. Use special code SBR10 at checkout to save 10% on your entire order. I want to thank our incredible staff, our booking producer, Sarah Shaffrin, our in-studio producer, Lady B, our marketing manager, Courtney Gilchrist. If you are serious about being more successful this year, you got to give me a call. I've set up a private line, 773-837-8250, or email me at barry@moltz.com. Remember, love everyone, trust a few, and paddle your own canoe. Have a profitable and passionate week.
You can find Barry Moltz on the web at barrymoltz.com, or more episodes of Small Business Radio at smallbizradioshow.com.